Why don't we ask more often who wrote the Bible? I mean, take the Bible out of it for a minute. If you're thinking about your favorite piece of fiction or some nonfiction resource material that you're working on, the authorship is critically important. Recently in the news, we've had lots of examples of authors who at one time were really popular and people loved their work, but then because of how the author behaved or what the author said, we've changed our opinion of their work as well. Or maybe a researcher who at one time was at the pinnacle of the work they were doing, but then people found out that some of the research was just made up, and it kind of guts their entire trustworthiness. So why don't we wonder that about the Bible? Like, was this particular story in the Old Testament written 800 years BCE, or was it 500 years BCE? And what difference might that make for how we understand it or how we find its relevance for us today? What about the stories in the Gospels? Were they written by people who were there with Jesus while it was happening? Was it stories verbally passed on and then somebody several decades later took them and wrote them down and compiled them together? And then how do we decide which books are in the Bible? Because we know that there are lots of historical works that were important and have deep impact on the people in the time just after Jesus' life and death and resurrection, but they're not in the Bible. And so we don't have a chance to be impacted by them in the same ways. So I encourage you to ask those questions. Try really hard to set aside all the things that you automatically know, the tradition around the fact that Moses wrote that and Joshua wrote this, and try and set that aside for a minute and just wonder, how would it impact you? What would it mean different to you if you knew more about how and why and when this particular scripture was written and who wrote it? Was it one person? Was it a group of people? Was it written at one point and then edited by somebody else? Was it an auditory story that got transferred into a written one later? What would that mean to you, and how would it change your relationship with the Bible? I love you all. See you soon. Bye for now.